What's up, folks? Maximilian here, back with some kind of interesting news on the Mortal Kombat front. Sadly, this is no confirmation of news, but it kind of leads to something that could be pretty interesting, and I would like to talk about as well as get some feedback from you guys. Of course, when it comes to fighting games, as well as one like Mortal Kombat that has this huge, gigantic legacy of characters, we've only seen so much so far, and the little bit of the roster that NetherRealms has chosen to actually let us see is kind of interesting, with a lot of newer characters especially mixed up amongst the couple of old classic ones. But something is always on the tip of like everyone's tongue, and I hate being somebody that gets excited when I hear about this stuff, but the thought of guest characters is extremely prevalent with a lot of fighting games, mostly because ever since the Soul Calibur 4 series where they introduced Yoda and Darth Vader, guest characters have been pretty prominent, and they do actually add on sales of copies to games. Mortal Kombat 9 had like Freddy Krueger, and God of War, they had Kratos as an example, and what I liked about those characters is that when I heard about them, even though I wasn't really into MK9 at the time, when I heard about them, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Hearing that God of War, that Kratos made it into that game, yeah, he totally fits. Freddy Krueger, a legendary horror movie staple, is the way he looks and the way he acts. I'm like, yeah, he's pretty much just like a tame version of Baraka. That totally fits. And I wasn't really disappointed to hear that. I mean, all things considered, I don't think many people were as well. And it's kind of become a staple now with the NetherRealm style of games. Scorpion made an appearance in Injustice, and I would probably say it's fair, or at least fair enough to say that we're probably going to see a guest character in Mortal Kombat X at some point as well. However, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. All those characters were released and announced way down the life cycle of these specific games, but there was something very interesting that popped up over Ed Boon's Twitter not too long ago. The thing is, Ed Boon does tweet a lot of stuff, so we cannot take this as confirmation of something that will be happening, but it put a little glimmer in my eye, and it got a lot of people very excited about the possibilities of what could be. Ed was sent an image on Twitter of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat X facing off against a Predator. That's right, the Predator from the Aliens vs. Predator series, the long-going Predator series back from the 80s. One of my favorite freaking characters ever in anything ever, potentially being in Mortal Kombat X. This wasn't from Ed, but the thing was, he chose to retweet it, he chose to say something about it, and he chose to show his entire fanbase following of people that just love the heck out of Mortal Kombat and follow Ed for everything he does. He retweeted the image, he showed it to everyone, and he replied with like, oh snap, or something like that. A lot of people freaked out, myself included, went nuts about it, even though there's no confirmation of this happening. But if we think about this and actually dissect it a little bit to get an understanding of what's going on, we might have a better idea of what potential guest characters could be in a Mortal Kombat game. I think the most important thing is that they have to feel like they fit within the world. And luckily, a Xenomorph or a Predator fit extremely well within the Mortal Kombat universe, I feel. But funny enough, I feel they fit even more in the world of Killer Instinct, and I've kind of secretly hoped that at some point in the Killer Instinct life cycle that if the game got so popular, we could eventually see something like a Predator or an alien, like a Xenomorph at some point within that game. But you know what? If it shows up in Mortal Kombat X with how good this game looks, and if that's even a possibility, that is freaking amazing. Now, the other interesting thing is that Ed is notorious for leaving secrets. He's notorious for leaving hints and clues within his Twitter, even within his own video games over the past many years, leading towards things that can potentially become a reality. If he sees that a lot of people like this stuff, they might actually go into doing so, but how likely is them even being able to do something like this? The nice thing about Freddy Krueger and the God of War previously is that God of War was on Sony consoles, and that was an exclusive character just for the PS3 in Mortal Kombat 9, and Freddy Krueger, of course, was from Nightmare on Elm Street, which is a New Line Cinema owned character and IP. And New Line Cinema itself as a movie production studio is owned by, you guessed it, Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns NetherRealm Studios. They're a part of Warner Brothers Games now, which in tandem allowed them to just take that character and stick him right over into Mortal Kombat 9. Makes total sense, right? The problem is that the alien and the Predator, or the ever supposed mixture of the two to ever appear in Mortal Kombat X, would have to go through a little bit of work because they are owned by 20th Century Fox. We have seen the Predator show up in another game recently, which was pretty surprising and rather awesome until I played the game and it was just like, ugh. And the Predator did appear in Call of Duty Ghosts. A fantastic idea, a really fun game mode, and a really decent implementation of the character, albeit it's the Aztec version and I'm not too much of a fan. Anyway, I won't stifle your ears with my Predator fandom. That did happen. 20th Century Fox gave the rights of the Predator over to Activision for Call of Duty Ghosts, and I don't think they have secure rights over it. I think that was just a one-off type of thing. So the chance of him appearing in Mortal Kombat X is there. The problem is it's still WB Games. WB Games promoting a character that belongs to another movie studio. The likelihood of this happening is almost nil at this point, in my opinion. Mostly because by the time Mortal Kombat X comes out, the next Predator movie, which is being made right now, is going to have a lot more traction, a lot more publicity, and if the Predator shows up in a Warner Brother game, a character that belongs to another movie studio, that's essentially promoting that character for another movie studio, and Warner Brothers would be like, whoa, I don't know, we don't want you to go see other people's movies, we want you to go see our movies. I would love it. I would absolutely want it to be the truth. I think the Xenomorph and the Predator making an appearance in a fighting game is an absolute dream come true. Mostly close to the previous Capcom Alien vs. Predator game, the side-scrolling beat-em-up way back in the day. I just love these characters, and I think they would fit so well within a universe like this, but the likelihood is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I think what you can look forward to as far as guest characters from either movies, platforms, or anything like that making an appearance on Mortal Kombat X is probably going to be things that are very unique to each system. Maybe you might see a very specific Xbox character showing up in the game, or another Sony character that's just as brutal and crazy. You know, we're going to have to see these dudes make it into a roster that fits with the other Mortal Kombat cast, just like Freddy and Kratos did. And I don't know who exactly that could be right now. They have a huge myriad of characters available to them. Warner Brothers has got a bunch of movies coming out on the near horizon, especially with Mortal Kombat X right in tandem. So I'm guessing that's going to be something that you possibly could look forward to. As many of you guys know, the entire roster of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate Marvel 3 were pretty much tailored around all the popular Marvel movies and franchises that were going to be released. Doctor Strange had a big animated movie coming up. The Avengers movie wasn't out yet by the time the game was released. All the Avengers characters ended up being in the game. That was very calculated as far as the majority of characters make it into the roster. It's a marketing decision. And what do you guys think could possibly be there? What guest characters would you possibly want to see make an appearance in Mortal Kombat X? I don't think the Predator or the Alien is going to be one of them, even though I want it to be true with all my soul. Thank you dudes very much for watching. As soon as there's any new Mortal Kombat information that I find interesting, I'll be back here with a video breaking it down and letting you guys know what's up. My name is Maximilian, and I'll see you next time.